giant bones were found in Lovelock Cave, which for ancient man would have been rather significant.
Beneath parking lots, inside remote caves, and carved into ancient stone, history has left behind secrets we were never meant to find. From human skulls mistaken for aliens in Peru, to colossal footprints etched into South African bedrock, these aren't legends, they're real.
Serpent Mound is an extraordinary site that, for anybody passing from above, is about to approach a site of importance.
Some were buried on purpose, others hidden in plain sight. Get ready to witness the 15 giant discoveries that shocked the world. The Paracas Skull. When cone-shaped skulls were unearthed in Paracas, Peru, the reaction was instant and loud. Aliens! People shouted, convinced we'd finally uncovered visitors from beyond the stars. The skulls looked off, elongated, unnatural, almost menacing. They didn't match what we expect from human anatomy. But here's the twist. They are human. These skulls, strange as they seem, have a human explanation rooted in culture, not outer space. They're the result of an ancient practice called cranial modification. For generations, people in the Andes reshaped infants' skulls by binding them while still soft. The process altered the skull over time, on purpose. This wasn't some experiment gone wrong, it was intentional. A sign of status, a symbol of identity, a bold form of beauty. So while they look like something from another world, these skulls are a reminder of just how far human societies have gone to express who they were. It was fashion, tradition, and power, all carved into the shape of a head. And when scientists checked the DNA, no alien markers, just human as you and me. Why do we jump to alien the second something challenges our sense of normal? Maybe we just crave mystery. Maybe it's easier to believe in the unknown than face the wild reality of human history. Either way, this wasn't first contact. It was a look in the mirror. Giants in Nevada. Deep in the dust of Nevada's Lovelock Cave, a legend refuses to stay silent. Whispers of towering human skeletons, some claim to be over 9 feet tall, have stirred imaginations for over a century. Could ancient giants have once roamed this land? The story sounds wild, but it didn't come from thin air. Early settlers swore they found massive bones hidden in the cave. Local Paiute oral history speaks of the Site Ka, a red-haired, cannibalistic race of giants driven into the caves and destroyed. The pieces of the puzzle are eerie, compelling, and incomplete. Archaeologists eventually explored Lovelock Cave and did uncover remains, but none matched the colossal sizes described in the tales. The bones were human, yes, but ordinary. Still, the myth kept growing. Why? Because the deeper people dug, the more questions they found. Some of the original bones and relics? Gone? Vanished? Records scattered. This only poured fuel on the fire. The official story says giants never existed here, but the whispers say otherwise. And when artifacts disappear and legends refuse to die, people start looking harder, questioning deeper. Because sometimes history isn't about what we find. It's about what we're told not to find. Giant bones beneath Edinburgh. This one started with a parking lot and ended with a question mark carved into history. In 2013, beneath the quiet stone streets of Edinburgh, Scotland, a simple excavation took a sharp turn into the bizarre. What began as a standard dig beneath an old churchyard unearthed something far from ordinary. Skeletons that didn't fit the script. These weren't just ancient bones. They were big, exceptionally big. Towering over what was typical for the medieval period, they stopped archaeologists cold. At a time when most people barely hit 5 feet 6 inches, some of these individuals stood out like giants among men. Taller, broader, built like warriors. But it wasn't just the size. These people were buried with care and purpose. Ornate coffins, weapons, hints of status and power. This wasn't a pauper's graveyard. It was something else. Something elevated. It gets stranger. Scottish folklore is laced with stories of massive red-haired clans, towering fighters who ruled the Highlands with unmatched strength. For centuries, they were written off as legend. But now the bones are saying otherwise. And yet, no one has given a solid answer. Are these just rare anomalies? Or are we staring down the remains of a forgotten chapter, hidden just below the cobblestones? The 200 million year footprint. Is this the footprint that rewrites history? Deep in South Africa's Mapuluzi region, etched into ancient granite, lies a discovery that has baffled scientists, stunned locals, and lit conspiracy theories on fire. a 4-foot-long human-like footprint pressed into stone that's been dated at over 200 million years old. Let that sink in. This isn't fresh mud. We're talking prehistoric bedrock. They call it the footprint of God, and one look tells you why. It's not vague or weather-worn, it's detailed. You can make out toes, the arch, the heel, as if something massive stepped into molten granite and walked away, leaving behind a silent challenge to everything we think we know. So what's the deal? Some geologists say it's erosion, just a strange natural pattern that mimics a human step. But here's the problem. It doesn't look random. It looks intentional, deliberate, perfect. It gets weirder. The rock face is tilted upright now, as if time itself wanted us to find it. And it's not alone. Similar footprints have surfaced in other parts of the world, but this is the clearest, the boldest, the one that refuses to be ignored. This isn't just a footprint, it's a question carved in stone. And until someone can prove otherwise, that mystery is very much alive. Giants of West Virginia. Some discoveries leave behind more questions than answers. In the hills of West Virginia, reports of giant human skeletons have surfaced again and again for over a century. These weren't ordinary remains. Bones measuring over 8 feet in length. Skulls with double rows of teeth. Jaws that didn't match typical human proportions. The findings came from ancient burial mounds scattered across the region. Structures tied to the Edinburgh culture, a real and documented prehistoric people. Between the late 1800s and early 1900s, newspapers across the state published articles describing these discoveries in detail. Locals spoke of skeletons uncovered during farming and excavation. Some accounts were recorded by early historians and amateur archaeologists, noting the unusual size and condition of the remains. Then, the trail went cold. Bones disappeared. Artifacts were boxed up and allegedly sent to institutions, never seen again. One name appears in these accounts more than any other: the Smithsonian. Many believe the remains were collected and quietly removed from public reach. Officials deny any involvement. The theory? These skeletons didn't fit the accepted story of early North America, and so they were erased. Some dismiss the reports as exaggeration. Others argue they point to a lost chapter of human history, one buried on purpose. The burial mounds still stand. The legends haven't faded. And the silence? That's the part that speaks the loudest. Bulgaria's vampire burials. Every village has its ghost stories. But in Bulgaria, some came with stakes to the heart. Near the Black Sea town of Sozopol, archaeologists uncovered skeletons that sent a chill through the historical world. Not because of how old they were, but how they were buried. Iron rods pierced through their chests, legs pinned down. These weren't just graves, they were warnings. In medieval Bulgaria, fear of the undead wasn't a myth. It was a matter of survival. If someone was suspected of strange behavior, died suddenly, or just didn't fit in, the community took no chances. Iron through the chest was thought to stop a restless corpse from rising. Superstition ruled, and death didn't end suspicion, it extended it. One skeleton, believed to be from the 1200s, belonged to a man of high status. Yet, there he was, staked like a monster. Why would someone respected in life be treated like a threat in death? Was this really about vampires or control? Historians now see a darker layer. These vampire burials may have been tools of social enforcement, branding the unwanted or dangerous even after they were gone. Folklore gave fear a name. The ritual gave it teeth. Science says the undead never walked, but medieval minds believed it enough to drive iron through the heart of that fear. Literally. Secrets of Serpent Mound. What ancient force drove people to carve a 1,300-foot serpent into the earth? In the quiet hills of southern Ohio lies the Serpent Mound, an enormous spiraling earthwork that has defied explanation for generations. Winding across the landscape with hypnotic precision, this serpent-shaped structure is the largest effigy mound of its kind in the world. Yet its purpose, its builders, and its meaning remain clouded in mystery. The serpent's mouth appears to gape toward an oval shape. Some say it's an egg, others say it's the sun. The curves of the body seem to align with celestial events, including the summer solstice. Coincidence? Or a prehistoric calendar hidden in plain sight? Scholars have debated its origins for years. Some credit the Edinburgh people, who lived over 2,000 years ago. Others argue it was crafted by the Fort ancient culture 1,000 years later. The mound's geometry is too precise, its placement too deliberate, and it just so happens to rest atop an ancient meteor impact site. Was that intentional? Or did ancient builders sense something powerful beneath their feet? Theories spiral out like the coils of the mound itself. Solar tracking device, sacred burial ground, portal to the stars. Some even whisper about giants and visitors from beyond. No one has cracked the code. But one thing is certain. The Serpent Mound wasn't built by chance. Roman shoe mystery. Something strange just came out of the ground near Hadrian's Wall. Giant Roman shoes. And yeah, they've got experts doing a double take. During recent digs at the Roman fort of Magna in northern England, archaeologists uncovered an unusually large pair of leather sandals dating back nearly 2,000 years. These things are way bigger than the typical Roman soldier's footwear. So naturally, folks started wondering, were some Roman troops way bigger than we thought? Now before we go full-blown ancient giants theory, let's pump the brakes. Experts say this one pair doesn't prove anything supernatural. It could have belonged to a tall guy, maybe an officer. Or maybe they were custom-made for ceremonial purposes or comfort, who knows? This isn't the only oversized item found in Roman ruins. Other digs have turned up large armor and gear that hint some Roman soldiers may have been built different. So, were they recruiting based on size, out on the empire's rougher edges like Britannia? Some scholars argue that the shoe's size might be misleading due to leather stretching or how it was preserved. But even with that, these sandals are big compared to others found in the same area, and finding them at a military fort near the empire's edge only fuels more questions. So, was this a rare fashion statement, or did Rome have some seriously tall soldiers guarding its frontier?
Okay, now it's time for the open discussion.
Remember those bedtime stories about giants? Turns out, they might not be stories after all. Archaeologists uncovered this jaw-dropping skeleton and no one can explain it. Government cover-up? Lost race? Or is this just the beginning of something bigger? Drop your thoughts below and don't forget to mention #OpenDiscussion. Prehistoric giant uncovered. Just outside the Zhujiao region of northern China, a routine excavation in 2006 led to a discovery that turned heads around the world. Buried beneath layers of Ice Age soil was the skeleton of a teenage human. Except this wasn't your average Stone Age youth. He stood over 6 feet tall, powerfully built, with thick limbs and wide shoulders. For his era, around 150,000 years ago, that kind of size was exceptional. This wasn't a case of abnormal growth or disease. This body was proportionate, symmetrical, and strong. A glimpse at what might have been a lost branch of ancient humanity. The implications sparked debate. Some researchers saw it as a sign of natural variation. Others wondered, were there groups of early humans who were simply larger, stronger, different? This wasn't myth. This wasn't legend. This was bone and earth and fact, documented, studied, and confirmed by experts. And yet, it raised the kind of questions science still struggles to answer. The tragic tale of Charles Byrne. Now here's a real-life giant whose story still echoes through time. Charles Byrne, known as the Irish Giant. Born in 1761, Byrne stood over 7 feet 7 inches tall, and some say he may have even reached 8 feet. This wasn't legend or rumor. This was the real deal. Byrne became a sensation across Britain in the 18th century. People paid to see him. He toured theaters, drew massive crowds, and lived what looked like a glamorous life. But behind the fame, his condition, now known as gigantism, was taking a serious toll. Byrne was terrified his body would be taken after death. And honestly, he had good reason to worry. The 1700s were wild when it came to medical science. Doctors and collectors were constantly on the hunt for unusual bodies. So before he died at just 22 years old, Byrne begged his friends to bury him at sea. But his worst fear came true. Surgeon John Hunter allegedly bribed his way to Byrne's body and ended up displaying his skeleton at the Royal College of Surgeons in London, where it stayed for over 200 years. That sparked years of backlash and debate. The museum finally removed Byrne's skeleton from display out of respect for his original wishes, but the damage was already done. So was Charles Byrne just a medical marvel, or a man exploited by the very people who admired him? Ancient Giant Hall. In the rolling fields of Scotland, archaeologists have uncovered something huge, literally and historically. A massive Neolithic timber hall, and it predates Stonehenge by over 1,000 years. Discovered in Aberdeenshire, this ancient structure dates back around 6,000 years. Early farmers, long before the pyramids, building a timber hall so large and advanced, it's got experts rethinking what they thought they knew about prehistoric Britain. The hall itself stretches nearly 80 feet long, with carefully set post holes, complex internal layouts, and signs of long-term use. This wasn't just a shack in the woods. It was a serious structure, likely used for community gatherings, rituals, or even by a high-status family or tribal leader. Some even believe it could have housed individuals with major influence in Neolithic society, maybe even seen as giants in status or stature. What's more impressive is the scale and planning involved. These early builders didn't have metal tools, yet they pulled off something massive and well-organized. It shows a level of skill, teamwork, and social structure that most people wouldn't expect from that era. And while no giant skeletons were found here, the sheer size of the hall tells a story of people thinking big, both literally and culturally. The giants of Monte Pram. Let's head to the island of Sardinia, where archaeologists uncovered something massive, literally. We're talking about the giants of Monte Pram, a mysterious group of stone statues carved over 3,000 years ago that have completely changed how we view ancient Mediterranean civilizations. Back in the 1970s, farmers stumbled upon huge broken stone figures buried near a necropolis. What followed was one of the most intriguing digs in European archaeology. These statues stand over 6 feet tall, made of limestone, and each one looks like a warrior. Shields, helmets, weapons, and all. Nothing like them had ever been found before in this part of the world. The figures were way ahead of their time, stylistically unique, powerful in form, and totally unlike the art coming from nearby cultures like the Greeks or Etruscans. They're believed to be connected to the Nuragic civilization, a mysterious culture that thrived in Sardinia long before the Roman Empire. These statues may have represented real elite warriors, or were meant to guard the dead, considering they were found near ancient tombs. Some experts even call them Europe's first colossal statues. And yeah, they definitely live up to the hype. But here's what's still unclear. Why were they buried? Were they destroyed during a conflict, or purposely hidden to protect them? Ancient elephant skulls. You wouldn't expect the bones of an elephant to spark a myth about one-eyed giants, but that's exactly what happened. Scattered across Mediterranean islands like Sicily and Crete, archaeologists have uncovered ancient skulls from extinct dwarf elephants. To modern scientists, these fossils are fascinating remnants of the past, but to ancient Greeks, they looked like something else entirely. The skulls are massive, far larger than a human's, and right at the center sits a large, round cavity. Today, it's understood to be where the elephant's trunk once connected. But without that knowledge, early viewers likely saw the hole as a single central eye socket. Add in the oversized jaw and distorted proportions, and it's no surprise these bones sparked legends. Stories of the Cyclops, one-eyed giants who roamed wild lands and ate humans, soon took root. Homer's Odyssey immortalized the tale of Polyphemus, the monstrous Cyclops who trapped Odysseus and his men. That story may have been inspired not by fantasy, but by fossilized remains misread by ancient eyes. The bones were real, the fear was real, and the myth, it spread. What started as a misidentified skull turned into a cornerstone of Greek mythology. It's a reminder that the line between history and legend is thinner than we think. And sometimes all it takes is one misunderstood detail to launch centuries of storytelling. Giant footprints of Tapaktuan. Although the legend is centuries old, the footprint is very real, and it's still right there in the stone. Along the rocky coastline of South Aceh, Indonesia, embedded in solid bedrock, lies a footprint measuring over 6 feet long. Locals know it as Tapaktuan, the footprint of Tuan Tapa, a mythical giant who, according to legend, fought a sea dragon to save a child lost at sea. During the battle, the giant stepped into the land, leaving behind a massive print that still stuns visitors today. This isn't a vague dent in the rock. It's deep, well-shaped, strikingly human. People travel from across the world to see it for themselves. Some say it's sacred, others just call it weird. But everyone walks away asking the same thing. How did this even happen? Geologists suggest it could be a freak result of erosion. Over time, nature can shape stone into strange forms. But here's the thing. There are no tool marks, no signs of carving, just one gigantic footprint that looks like it was pressed into the cliffside. Believers point to it as physical proof of a forgotten past. Skeptics say it's just coincidence backed by a good story. Neither side has hard evidence to close the case. So what are we looking at? Natural wonder? Ancient craftsmanship? or a trace of something we're not ready to explain. The Miamisburg Mound. Standing tall in southwestern Ohio is one of the largest Native American burial mounds in the U.S., the Miamisburg Mound. Rising nearly 70 feet high and stretching over 800 feet around, this prehistoric earthwork isn't just big, it's massive. And the mystery surrounding it? Even bigger. Believed to have been built by the Edinburgh culture over 2,000 years ago, the mound likely served as a burial site. When a partial excavation was done in the 1800s, reports claimed that an unusually large skeleton was found, allegedly over 7 feet tall. That sparked whispers about whether the Edinburgh buried their dead or their giants. Now, historians and archaeologists admit there's limited documentation about that specific dig, and the original skeleton, long gone. Some chalk it up to mismeasurement, while others believe it supports the recurring claims of giant remains tied to Edinburgh mounds across the Ohio Valley. What we do know is this: constructing something of this scale with primitive tools shows serious planning, strength, and community effort. The mound still stands as a powerful reminder of a civilization that was deeply connected to the land, the stars, and possibly something much larger than we understand. Thanks for watching. If these giant discoveries blew your mind, hit like, subscribe, and drop your favorite in the comments. History's full of secrets waiting to be uncovered, and we're just getting started. Stay curious, stay bold, and we'll see you in the next one. The truth is out there. Dig deep.